Martino, and my topic is America's most dangerous export democracy. Each country has a different definition about how a democracy should work. In America, we are proud of our political institutions and how each official gets elected into office in our three branches of government, the legislative, executive, and judicial, which all have balance of powers. Our second is our political and civil rights. We all have the rights to vote and etc., which are outlined in the Constitution and the 10 Amendments. The problem is America has gotten so proud of these freedoms that we're trying to spread them to other countries. What it started out as good in World War II, when we tried to reform the economies of Japan and Germany. People around the world saw America as a good country trying to spread democracy and trying to promote peace in different countries so people could also have the freedoms that America also had. The reasons why it worked was because we put money into Germany and Japan after the war. We made sure that their economies stood strong before we left their areas so that they could run by themselves. Another reason why it worked was because both of the nations were not new to democracy. They previously had democracy before America introduced it. Even though it was a different form of democracy, at least that their people still understood the key principles of it. The third reason was there was a sense of nationhood in these countries. So there wasn't cultural differences among their people. They were all ready to see democracy because of the dictatorships that they had first run. Once America saw how successful democracy was in these two countries, they felt like they were prepared to go spread democracy into other nations of the world also, which began to pose a problem. The first common instance of this was the war in Iraq. This was post 9/11. George W. Bush was obviously upset about the attacks on the Twin Towers and decided that he was going to go into the Middle East and try to gut out all of the places where democracy was not welcomed. He went to Iraq and tried to topple the dictatorship of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein had a stable dictatorship, although he was really repressive to his people. Their economy was stable and there was uprisings, but none like once America went in. When America toppled the dictatorship, a lot of different political parties broke loose and there was a lot of violence in the area. Instead of trying to boost their economy, America left them before they were ready to start their own democracy. There was a lot of violence that broke out. People started to resent America because innocent people were then dying for no reason. There was also a variety of war crimes that broke out. There was uranium-depleted shells that were dropped on a variety of cities in Iraq, which is considered a war crime, and a lot of children were born with birth defects. This caused Iraq to start hating America, and it first started out, the reasons why it did not work was, first, in the region of Iraq, they had no experience with democracy in the past. They were used to dictatorships and not stable governments. And most of the leaders were also heads of the military, which is a lot different in a democracy because the president is not supposed to be a head of a military official. So a lot of it was repressing their people. So democracy was a very different approach for them. Also because of their cultural divisions of the Shia and Sunnis, they do not agree and do not see themselves as the nation of Iraq. They see themselves in these two political groups, so it's very hard for them to agree upon what they're doing. And the third was America did not take the proper steps in trying to boost their economy and trying to introduce them to democracy. Instead of putting money into their infrastructure and making schools and making sure that the people understood what democracy was, they simply left them so that they could do it for themselves. And today, they're still fighting in Iraq. In the book, America's Deadliest Export by William Blum, he discusses why other countries hate America for trying to put democracy into their countries. The first is anyone who opposes America is said to be an extremist. People in the government are worried that other countries who do not support democracy are trying to go against America, which is not true because other countries do run solidly without democracy. The next reason is the government also believes that if a country does not believe in democracy, that they're not marketing well enough, trying to put more propaganda into the country. Democracy is not going to work in every country for some of the reasons I said before. The political divisions among the cultures is not always going to make democracy the best reason. The third is we oftentimes use technology and to try to fix our problems. In our high defense spending, we obviously have a more superior military to any other country in the world. So we find it, instead of using diplomatic approaches, we see that we can go into another country and rule with an iron fist, I guess you could say. A quote by George W. Bush around the Iraq wartime to a general said, "Kick butt. If somebody tries to stop the march to democracy, then we will seek them out and kill them." The U.S. is acting more like the Roman Empire day by day. They went to other territories to conquer them to try to make themselves look more powerful. Today, it seems like America is using democracy to try as an excuse to better themselves and try to make ourselves more powerful. This isn't always the solution. We also are trying to go to these other countries to get their resources. It's not the same as it used to be when we used to go into the countries to try to get freedom for the people. We're now doing it for different reasons because we want to stay as the #1 superpower in the world, which is also backfiring on us because other nations in the Middle East are looking to new superpowers such as China for political stability. A statistic about how America has affected other nations trying to install democracy is that we have tried to overthrow 50 elected government leaders, meddled with elections in 30 countries, tried to assassinate 50 leaders, bombed civilians in 30 other countries, and stop uprisings in 20 countries. This leads me to my conclusion that America has the deadliest export of democracy. It has changed from our most valuable freedom to harming other countries and creating violence